please, during your research phase, if you have a team of people and you have a creative involved in building something and a geek involved, and if you're one of them, insist that you talk during your information gathering. Because a geek is going to look for things that a creative is not going to look for, and a creative is going to look for things that a geek's not going to look for. And also during the brainstorming portion of it, I don't even need to change slides. During the brainstorming portion of it, if an idea is presented by a creative, and a geek might be able to look at that idea and say, that's great, let's expand it. There can be more, but there's also the situation where one can bring up something, and then the other one can say, well, consider the technological issues that you've just raised and how much money we would have to spend to build that, or whatever. It's not possible. And finally, really, if you talk during the research and the inspiration portion, you're going to alleviate a lot of the challenges that you would have because you didn't talk. You didn't iron out those issues, and you didn't do as wide a research and as open an inspiration portion. So there's my thesis. We should get together during this process and get together often. Many times, in many projects that I've been involved in, the creatives and the geeks don't ever meet, even on a conference call. So that's my proposal. Questions? Because we have how many minutes? We have 10 minutes.
8 minutes.
8 minutes.
How much time do you spend on each one of those things? Is there more at the front or more at the back?
The 4 things?
Yeah.
Production is probably number 1. Yeah, it's very much number 1, and research is number 2, unless the challenges are so overwhelming that you spend a lot of time. But see, I'm saying you identify the challenge and you get back into research. Yeah.
What specifically, kind of goals should a creative take if, your geeks are using agile development? Should a creative...
Tell me what agile development is.
It's a process pretty much for developers, geeks to go from point A to point B. They have sprints and scrum meetings, the sprint lasts 2 weeks, and they go, this is what we're going to accomplish in 2 weeks.
I think at least a creative, my guess, my suggestion, and I don't have any real answers for you here, I'm just suggesting that we get together and talk, but I would think in that process that a creative should be in the room.
Okay.
So they can observe, and I should also think that a creative would want to raise their hand and say, what the hell are you talking about right now? And so that I can understand what is going to be happening and how it implies what they're going to have to do. And I'm such a creative, and it's really important that the end product look really nice and clean and sharp. And if something that the developers suggest is going to create a lot of clutter and appearance problems, then I want to be a part of the process of figuring out how to make that user interface or the presentation of what we're doing look slick. Because my name's on it somewhere. Maybe in a comment in some code on the server side, but my name's in it somewhere. Question?
So I would really love to be able to meet with my developers face-to-face as often as possible, but sometimes we just got to do the long-distance relationship thing. What are good online resources? Because personally, I cry a little bit every time I have to do a phone conference and explain something visually.
Inside yourself, or do you actually shed some tears?
It just depends.
Okay, right.
But I was just wondering if you had any particular online programs, software, resources.
The iChat app is ridiculously good because you can share screens and files and the TV and split it and bring 4 people into a single conversation from different parts. But I know Skype does something very similar. Has anybody else had any experience with GoToMeeting?
GoToMeeting is good.
GoToMeeting, you love it? Are you a geek or are you a creative?
I'm a creative, but I'm a nerd creative.
A creative nerd, okay. That is an acceptable thing to put on your diploma.
There you go.
I think so. GoToMeeting, people
There's
like that?
a new one called iMeet, which is it's owned by PGI, but it's kind of GoToMeeting, but it's got video capabilities.
Okay.
It's for maximum 15 people.
What's that called?
iMeet.
iMeet?
Yeah.
Great.
like over a long-term development process, like if you're wanting to keep track of them, like not just the initial contact meeting, because I could try, but I could do the one thing with the iChat thing. But if I need to touch base with them throughout the process.
I mean, there are a lot of solutions out there that I need to learn more about. One thing to do is consider versioning systems so that you can follow a path, so you can see where you were, and if you break it, you can go back. Also, it's great for your portfolio at the end to get snapshots of what you did along the way. But versioning is a great thing to do. I think that you establish some kind of a check with me protocol. See, here's one of the problems I've got that in both sides of my brain. So when I say geeks and creatives should talk, that means I'm going to be schizophrenic. But I also, in several projects, have worked with teams of designers, and then especially the guys that set up these servers, because I don't even know what they're doing with DNS hardly, or stuff like that, or Apache. So I got to know, and I got to communicate with them. So, question, John.
Hi, my name's John. I'm a geek.
Thank
And the challenge.
Hi, John.
The challenge that I typically find is I get involved after the inspiration process. Somebody comes to me, hey man, I got this great idea. We want to build this, this, and this, and they start bringing these buzzwords in, like recovery time, disaster recovery, global stuff.
Yes.
And all I'm thinking in my mind is dollar figures.
Right.
And I don't want to completely shoot them down.
But on the other hand, you want them to call you during the research phase.
Yes.
Or before.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how often somebody comes to me and says, I want to do a website, and I've got this logo that my cousin designed for me. And I go,
how do I deal with that?
In those situations, the thing that you got to do is just be as upfront as you can and try to help them back up some and talk about, at least let them share with you what their inspiration was, what that initial vision of what they're going to do. Because if you're in the middle of their production, they're already talking about functions or about HTML and CSS that they've already kind of shaped and grown. More questions? Did that answer you well, Tom?
Okay. I think the real answer is you got to get involved early, and there's really
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Could you give me the web address and the PDF of this again?
artdudegraphics.com/createtalk.pdf. Thank you. You're welcome. I need to put that on my site. I have a link to this session on there, so right now. Is that it?
Yeah.
Oh,
I guess
Zach? Zach is a geek.
No, not. I have a lot of ideas and don't know how to do them, so I'm in the middle. But I mean, your question is, if they're always coming to you for a deliverable, here's what I want to do and what I want to do it. You've got to either pick your basically the projects, and you got to pick those earlier, or have them. The mindset I see is on the marketing side is they already have it in their mind what they want, and then they just use the coders or the deliverables or the language. They don't care about that. So the quicker you can get in the front end and be a partner with them.
I think that's right. And how many people are in here, last point before we go, how many people in here would you call yourself a middle person? Yeah, because I've been seeing a lot of language when people were tweeting and adding sessions and talking about their bios and things for this Podcamp. There's a lot of people who say, I don't really know code, and I'm not really an Adobe Suite kind of guy or a girl, but what I'm doing is I bring those people together. Please, middle people, bring the geeks in early. If you're thinking software more and you're thinking more about the geek part, bring the creatives in early. Pay them a little bit in the beginning too, by the way, because creativity is valuable, and software creativity is as well. Thank you very much.